Okay, so as we've said, we have a sponsor session now, and we'd like to welcome Sharon Donovich and Marie Dawn from Kornit Digital into the room. And they're going to tell us about their Pigment Ink technology, which I think you'll find very interesting. So Sharon, over to you.
Yes, and I'm sharing my screen, and you will tell me that you see it fine.
We see it, yes.
Perfect, great. So I would like to start and say that I believe Simon is a chemist, or at least has chemistry knowledge. I'm not, okay? I'm from marketing. We are the guys that know how to do a nice presentation. But I will do my best. I work as a product marketing manager in Kornit for almost 8 years, so I'm supposed to know something. And of course, whatever I will not know to answer, I would happily find out. Kornit, as I don't know if you know or not, we are actually providing end-to-end solutions. So we are providing the systems, we are providing the chemistry, the software, everything, the support, of course. So everything is from and by Kornit. So obviously we have a very large chemistry team that is, as Simon mentioned before, tailoring the ink to Kornit systems. You cannot use other inks with Kornit. So it's proprietary ink, proprietary process, a lot of intellectual property and patents around the way that we are printing and using the chemistry. What I wanted to go through today is actually talking about printing digitally with pigment ink. And what I wanted to start is by just reviewing with you what I'm going to review is actually a small introduction into pigment printing or pigment inks or generally inks, why it's good to be printing with pigment inks, the challenges that you have with when you are printing digitally with pigment inks, what are the advantages digitally with pigment inks, how you do that, and a short summary. So basically, printing with pigment is sort of 50% of what the world is using today. So 50% of the fabrics globally are decorated with pigment. But the digital part of it is very, very little. Simon mentioned before that digital become more and more popular, but not necessarily until today with pigment printing. And I'll explain why, because it's not simple. But the advantages of doing the decoration digitally are huge, and I did not go in this presentation. We can do another session on that one. I did not go in this presentation to talking about what are the trends today, where the world is going, you know, the rise of the e-commerce. We saw in the first 3 months of 2020, just because of COVID-19, obviously, and Simon mentioned that, e-commerce and online shopping are had the leap as they had for the 10 years before. So it took 10 years to achieve what we achieved in what happened in the 3 first months of 2020. So I don't want to say older because I'm old. So more people are using, not only my daughters are using online shopping, and the amount of packages that are arriving during this time of COVID from ASOS, from Zara, from all over the place, from Amazon to our home is huge. I'm sure it's all over the place like that. So I'm not talking about all these trends that are pushing digital to become more and more popular, but I wanted to touch the part of inks in that sense. So if you look at the left side, this is the amount, and there's no proportion, right? So traditional usage of inks versus digital. Today, 95 are using, we're using traditional method of printing, where 50% out of it is being used with pigment inks, and the rest is reactive dyes, sort of this different sort of dyes. But really, the major part in traditional decoration, traditional printing, is with pigment. While if you look at the digital part of it, okay, which accounts to 5% of the overall decoration and printing, is 2% out of the 5% is only with pigment, meaning that it's challenging, okay? It's not easy to use pigment for digital printing, okay? So those are the proportions that just so we will understand what type of application, what type of markets are actually using pigment when it comes to traditional. The ones that are using pigment are for home decor a lot, for babies. I think that there is some mistake here, but also the low end. High end would usually be other kind of reactive stuff that is more luxurious or give you different results. But most of it is, a lot of it is using pigment printing. Now, I wanted this, I'm not going to go through all this table, okay? But just to show you the different type of colorant, okay? And what you can do with which, okay? And the different capabilities. I don't know if you are going to get this, if it's recorded, but it really gives you a good understanding of the different types of dyes and inks. But one major thing that we see here is that with pigment, you can actually print or decorate any fabric, any fiber, which is a huge advantage, okay? Especially when you're talking about digital printing, and I will explain later on why. But it's definitely the easiest and the best way to cover any fabric. So this is a good opportunity for people that want to use the same type of colorant for different application, different fibers. One more thing that is very different is the fact that pigment is very good when it comes to wash fastness, light fastness, rubbing. The results are very good, which is also something that is very important. So I don't want to go too deep into that. As I mentioned, I'm not a chemist. I don't want to go too deep into this information. And what I wanted to explain is a little bit, again, why, okay? So first of all, the pigment inks produce very strong colors, okay? And it's excellent application fastness over a wide range of fabric, okay? So really the results that you are getting with pigment ink are not resembling when it comes to fastness to other colorants, to other ink types. It suits many applications, okay? It's good for fashion, maybe not always the high fashion. For example, you don't use it usually with silk, but it's, or you can get nicer results with dye sublimation for polyester, but it's still very good for many applications. So fashion, home decor, outdoor textile. When it comes to outdoor textile, the fact that it's very light resistance, with the fact that it's the fastness with light is very good, is definitely the best application when it comes to outdoor. It's a dry process. Okay, so when it comes to that area, this is huge. Simon also mentioned sustainability. We'll talk about it later more. But the fact that this is a dry process, the fact that this process does not require the same post-treatment after the decoration, after the printing, is huge. Why? Because when you're using washing and steaming, it's first of all, it's those are processes that are very polluting. Second of all, those are processes that are requiring a lot of machinery, a lot of power consumption. The carbon footprint of these processes is huge. So definitely when we're talking about other inks, they are not sustainable as pigment ink. So there are many advantages, and to touch base that. But it's not easy. And also Simon mentioned that before. So why it's not easy? I would want to touch several points why pigment ink for digital is in some areas very challenging. So first of all, the fabric must be pre-treated. The pigment ink is based on water, okay? So we are actually taking pigment, and of course there is a lot of formulation, and as I mentioned in Kornit, it's the NeoPigment inks are tailored for Kornit, but you have to pre-treat the fabric, okay? So if for Kornit, we are actually serving two, I would say, different market. One is the direct to garment, the other is direct to fabric. The difference is direct to garment, we are actually printing on finished goods or cut pieces. When it comes to direct to fabric, we are printing on roll of fabrics. But in both cases, you have to pre-treat the fabric because the pigment itself is not dyed into the fabric itself. It's not changing the fabric. It's bonded into the fabric. Okay, and for this fact, you have to pre-treat it. Okay, it allows this bond into the fabric. And it allows it also support the fact that the water-based ink is not soaking into the fabric itself. If you take water and put it on fabric, obviously on textile, it will be it will suck into that. Okay, so this is what why the pre-treatment is pre-treating of the fabric is needed. The fabric construction really make a huge difference when it comes to printing with pigment-based ink. The surface of the fabric needs to be as smooth as can be, and I will elaborate on that later on. The density of the fabric also needs to be good enough to allow this bonding, and you cannot have salvage. For example, when it comes to roll of fabrics, we need to have very nice salvage of the fabric itself. So really, there are demands when it comes to the fabric constructions. The hydrophobic or pH issues also are something that you need to know to manage. You need to know to control it, and it's very delicate. So as I mentioned, we have many chemists that, and just a sec. If there are fabrics that are actually pre-treated or have some kind of any treatment like softening or other chemicals, it's very, very difficult to print on them. Okay, so we see that this is also something that is very challenging. It's something that we need to control. Also, how the garments are dyed. Okay, so for example, we know from customers that it could be the same exact garment manufactured in the same exact location. You get extra large T-shirts from the same manufacturer with that are dyed in black. When it will be large, it will be we will need to do it in one setup. If it will be medium or small, it will be another setup. So it's also very challenging. There's the control of the textile is not the highest, really depends from where you get it. Okay, so you can get, I don't know, from, you know, third like countries that are, you don't have good control of the dyeing of the textiles, and it's just not similar to from package to package. The grind of the pigment or particle size has a lot of implications on print head clogging, and as Simon mentioned before, Also, we many years like doing printing with white was always a challenge. With the years, we added recirculation that makes all the inks recirculating to make sure that there is no printed clogging. Generally, printing with pigment is challenging, and the clogging was always an issue. So from one hand, you want to have the best white layer because you need it for printing the color on top of that, and you want to have good intensity, good density, good L values. So you want a lot of white on one hand, or a lot of pigment or particle of white. On the other hand, it's clogging the printhead. So it's really a delicate equation, how you do it, okay? So really, Kornit, within the years, we had evolution of the ink itself. So we have different families of ink, and it's getting better and better with time. Also, the ink itself are actually changing the way that the garment is built. So, for example, you want to make sure that, as I mentioned, pigment ink is not actually changing the color of it's not dyeing the fabric itself, but it's actually, you can say, sort of sitting on top of it. And you want to make sure that the ink will be stretchable and breathable and will not change the way that the integrity of the garment itself. So there are so many charges, so much stuff that you need to take into consideration, and of course get the right colors, and of course get the right hand feel, because you don't want it to be too heavy, as it's again sits on top of us. So hand feel is very, very important, and you want it to be cured in the right temperature because it cannot be too high temperature. So there are a lot of stuff that you need to take into consideration when formulating the inks. And as mentioned before, there's a lot of trials, a lot of tests. Every time that we are bringing out a new systems, it's almost immediately means that it's a new ink set, okay, that matches the new either print heads and the new speed of the system, but we want to maintain to make sure that also our install base are benefiting from that new inks. So we are making sure that it's also backward compatible. Okay, so it's a lot of challenges that we need to take into account. So what are we actually saying? Why are the advantages? As I mentioned, it's a quality print on multiple fabric types. Okay, so really you can print when you're printing digitally. You want to be able to use the same system for printing on multiple fabric types. Okay, whether it blends or cotton or synthetics. So you want to make sure that you will be able to print on different fabric types with different garment size, different combinations, different applications. So printing digitally means that you don't have any limitations, okay? So you can print to any market, you can print any, there's no minimum or order quantities, which we have with traditional printing. So here you don't have limitation on that. I mentioned before, 20% of industrial water pollutions come from the textile dyeing, okay? So here we really want to make sure that we are, and today sustainability become a top factor to the large brands. All of them are committed to the SDG. All of them are committed to bringing sustainable product. I saw just today, Patagonia announced another initiative in that sense. So really all the time. And today, the young generation, they care, okay? And they, like, I'm sure all of you heard of Greta, they care. They will not agree to buy from companies that are that do not do any do not take any measurements when it comes to plant earth and taking care of it. They understand what's going on. I'm sure most of you saw the the Netflix movies that are talking about it, and it's really becoming a huge factor. Every large brand that wants to continue, so one, he must have e-commerce, good e-commerce site. Otherwise, they are really, today we see that there are brands that were not ready, so they cannot make it. And also make sure that they have a sustainability policy, okay? Because really that matters. So in all that sense, the brands, we see that they had to, so sustainability was out there, not from now, not just started with COVID-19, but we see that COVID-19 also in that sense becomes important. And sustainability, by the way, it's not only about pollution, it's also about working conditions, okay? So there was a huge, I think it was called the Pay Now, in the beginning of COVID-19, when a brand says, okay, we are not taking what we ordered from the Far East, we cannot get it, and we are not going to pay for that. And there was a huge movement, you have to pay and all that. So all that, the risk of inventory and the printing the large quantities, the environment changes that we saw now that, you know, all transportation suddenly was held. There's no planes running around. There are no ships, which I think this is, I think the transportation is either number one or number two polluting industry as well. Okay, so all these shipments going back and forth from the Far East to Europe to USA, so all that. So all these are all together considered to be under sustainability. So all that, and we know that the pigment-based is dry process, it's water-based, it's eco-friendly inks, okay? This is also very important. It's meet the workplace regulation. When it comes to standards and certification, it has the eco passports, I think not only Kornit Inks when it comes to pigment, but also others, positive list of GOTS, meaning that it's safe also for babies, for toddlers. So really, it's a type of application, type of inks that are really friendly to the environment, friendly to people. So really, there's a huge advantage in that sense, okay? And again, the process itself, not only that it's the water itself, but as I mentioned before, it's machinery, it's the carbon footprint that is required for that. So really a lot of that. I'm sure the audience here is familiar with both eco passports and the GOTS, which are standards that are very well known in the textile industry. So I'm not going to go over this too much, but it's important, and there are many more, and at least I can say from Kornit point of view, sustainability is huge. It's important, and we are doing all the time more and more around that to get more certifications, LCA, and so on, to make sure that we are. Now I'm going to the wrong direction. That we are, we have compliancy with all that. So as also mentioned before, also compliancy with international durability standards, ISO and AATCC, which is the American Association of Textile Chemists and Colorists, the fastness to light, the fastness to perspiration, and the fastness to wash. When it comes to Kornit, again, for us, those are the parameters that we are chasing, we are after, and from one ink family to the other, we are progressing, getting higher grades, and for us, this is something that is very, very important. The brands which are, as we are looking to bring all the time retail quality, so the beginning of digital was more like allowing personalized items, printing one-offs, but now we are saying, no, the entire business model is changing, okay? It's mass customization, so you are customizing per the one, you're doing one impression at a time, but you are doing it in mass quantities. Okay, so we want to make sure that we are able to have the higher standards, and the brands, as much as they also want to be sustainable and they want to have smaller quantities and same day delivery and then low inventory and everything, still they have their requirement and standards are very high when it comes to washability, durability. They still expect to get the same retail quality as if it was you were buying that in store and not getting that online. For them, the fact that it's not in the store but you bought it online, you still need to have the same standards and get the same quality of product. So there's no difference. So for Kornit, getting improved results all the time is what we aim for. Okay, and really for us, as I just said, industry standards. So the widest color gamut, we are almost the only company that when it comes to pigment ink, we have 6 colors. So besides the CMYK, we have also the red and green, which allows you to get wider color gamut, meaning that you can cover when it comes to licensing, you want to hit certain brand colors, certain Pantone colors. So this is what allows us to get a wider gamut color. The hand feel itself, again, when it comes to retail, you want to get a refined hand feel, the good hand feel, and not something that is more of the promotional type of product like it was in the beginning, when you can expect that if it's something that was printed on screen printing with plastisol, yes, you would expect heavy hand feel. Here, when you want to have retail quality and refined hand feel, you have to come out with the right ink. And of course, the fact that it's vivid colors, digital printing allows you limitless actually designs, which is a huge advantage, something that is more challenging when it comes to traditional printing. Even if it's with water-based ink or pigment-based ink, it's still more challenging to have limitless colors. Here, when it's come to digital, of course, it's like our desktop printer. You can have any design. There are no limits. It doesn't take more time to have millions of colors. It's same as having one color, so it doesn't really matter. So really a huge advantage, not only of Kornit, but digital in general. Okay, so what are we saying? What do you need to do or to have when it comes to digital printing? Okay, what is the basic fabric requirements? And I mentioned that before, but it's important to have a flat and absorbent surface. Okay, so if we want to ink to bond to the fabric, it's good that it will be good quality. Okay, so I always tell customers that I have they complain, they say, the print is not good and so on. Okay, so we can do as much as we can on the ink side and on the system side, that's fine. But I don't want to be rude, but I don't want to say the word cheat, okay? But cheat in, cheat out, okay? We cannot do what we cannot do, okay? It is what it is. If you are bringing bad type of garment, if you're bringing something that is not quality, then definitely you will see the result. Yet, as I mentioned before, we are trying to be agnostic as much as we can to the fabric. I will talk about how Kornit is actually doing the printing, but it's actually something that we are trying to be agnostic for. I mentioned before that every sheet of garment could be different. It comes from the same supplier, but medium and large will behave differently. We try to bring, and I think that 21 will bring more innovation from Kornit in that sense, to be as agnostic as we can to the fabric. Yet we want to get, we need to get stuff as flat as it can, that the better surface for digital printing with tighter and closer and not rough surfaces. If the fabric was pre-treated, as I mentioned before, then it's more problematic to do the bonding. Okay, so there are some basic requirement to get good printing. Now, Kornit technology is different from others. Okay, our technology is based on what we call wet on wet. Okay, this is our patent. This is what we're doing. So for us, this is why we have the fabric matters. Okay, with others that are using pigment ink, many times they are printing wet on dry. Okay, what they are doing is actually creating the surface of the t-shirt or the fabric as if it was a paper. Okay, but then you have other challenges. Okay, because the hand feel is not as good, the colors are not as good. You have this usually box because they heat press. You have this box effect. Okay, so it's this is why our technology allows you not only to have pre-treated treatment that is integrated into the process itself, but also much better quality on that sense. I mentioned the fabric salvage, which is relevant more to roll, because otherwise another issue with fabrics that are not straightened is, of course, head crashes into wrinkles or like that. So also when it comes to salvage, it's also something that could be challenging. Okay, so make sure that you have good type of finish for that. As I mentioned, Kornit is always doing washability and durability results with the highest standards. You see, we're using different tools that are relevant in the industry, like Rockmeter, etc., grayscale for color changes, and we are making sure that we are getting the best results. Every ink that we are going out is being tested, like Intertech, getting, of course, all the results and making sure that we are passing all the standards and the certification. So this is something that is very important for us to make sure that we are covering that. And the one thing that I wanted to mention is, of course, the fact that in Kornit, the most important, I would say, most unique feature is that our pre-treatment is integrated into the system. So you cannot print with pigment ink without pre-treatment. And with Kornit, you're actually doing that as part of the print process. So if in other cases you need to pre-treat and dry and then print, then we are actually saving you the process, or saving the process of the pre-treatment and the drying. And obviously, if you are printing with different type of inks, you also need other post-treatment processes like steaming, washing, drying again. It's an additional equipment, which I did not mention here even because I just compared apples to apples. I'm talking here pigment, so I did not show how the process will look like when it comes to acid or reactive, etc., etc. So I just want to show a short, 2 short movies, and I hope that let me stop sharing for a second. I want to make sure that I actually selected the sound. I know that it's not always synchronized because it's Zoom, but let's try to see if it will work for me.
We all know what happens when we press print, right? We press and it prints. Paper in, picture out, yada, 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 end of story. But printing on textiles? Forget about it. You gotta first pre-treat the material. And in case that sounds easy, it means handling each garment twice and holding lots of stock. Pre-treatment? Give me a break. It means just one thing to my business: more delays and higher costs. So you know what? I don't want to pre-treat anything anymore, which is why I found these guys. They invented the concept of direct-to-garment printing. it's pre-treatment free.
So I hope that you managed to hear the voice.
We all know what.
Sorry. To hear the sound. Did you?
Yes, we could hear the sound. Yeah.
Okay, and this was our actually DTG process. Okay, so actually the pre-treatment is part of it. We are spraying the fixation, which is wet process, and immediately after we are printing. If it's a dark T-shirt, we are printing a white and then the color, and if it's a white T-shirt, we are pre-treating. And then we are printing the color immediately. And of course, from that, you need to take it to the dryer. With the roll to roll, with the direct to fabric, it's a different process. We are actually not spraying it, but we are printing the fixation. It's again a patent by Kornit. It is called fixation on the fly, FOF. And again, these consumables are part of the development that is being done with our ink. Okay, so it's tied to the ink itself, and it has the relation between the fixation and the ink itself. So it's all bundled together from Kornit. And what I want to show here is actually the process of printing roll to roll with the fixation integrated. One more important thing to notice is that Kornit is the only one that is bringing integrated softening capabilities to roll. When you're printing with pigment ink, sometimes it's a little bit rough when it comes to roll. Okay, there's huge rolls. There's a lot of ink. It's not like a T-shirt that it's a small square A4, something like that. But it's larger than that. It's higher quantities. So lately we launched. I believe it was last March. We launched the integrated softener. Okay. So again, you don't need to add another process. You just print whatever you want and apply the fixation, the ink, and then the softener, and it's all integrated together. It's okay. So it's like the drops are being placed one on top of the other. Okay. I want to show you a short video that show this process, and I think that after that we will see if we have time for questions. And of course, we will always happy to hear from you and give any information that is needed. So I think we understood that. And last one. So this is what I had to share. Again, we have our ink is called NeoPigment. We have a few family or few inks in that family for DTG, for the different product, for the direct to fabric, a different one, all based on the same technology, but are with the right properties, the right characteristics for the market and the system that is being served. And I think that's what I have to share today. And I think that if there are any questions, I did not check if there are, but this is what I have.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharon. Do we have any questions? Oh, Andy's just come back in.
Let me stop sharing.
Do we have any questions for Sharon? So I was going to ask you how you see the performance improving over the last couple of years. I know the situation 2 or 3 years ago was basically a lot of people would have felt that pigmented inks weren't ready for prime time, if you like, compared with some of the other inks. Obviously, they have the advantage of adaptability, but the quality perhaps wasn't there. So are you seeing improvements in the quality?
Absolutely, we see a huge improvement. As I mentioned, it was more suitable before to more promotional, personalized type of applications. Mm-hmm. Today, we see both with the Presto and with the Atlases that we are entering definitely markets that are more industrial. It's not anymore. So definitely I think the ink have improved, but COVID-19 pushed everything towards going digitally. The ability to provide something within hours and provide it in good quality. So for us, we definitely took the last year to provide retail quality, okay? And the inks are major part of this retail quality. So, and we see that companies are embracing that, okay? So the large brands are going to our fulfillers, looking to get the online fulfillment within the entire, so they have the workflow tied into from the website of, and it doesn't have to be customized or personalized, right? It's those are the same designs that you would go to Zara or to H&M, you will see in store, you will see it on the website, you will pick it, but actually there's no inventory behind this, which completely makes sense, right? Yeah. So they want to make it completely on demand, and the quality that they are getting is definitely where they are expecting it to be. There is places for improvements. For example, in the last year, we made sure that, I know that this was something that was well known in the industry, that our fixation had this vinegar smell, okay? So you opened this bag and you get, poof, this vinegar smell right out to your nose. And we have now a version of the fixation that is called Ecofix, which is completely with odorless, okay? So this was, for example, for getting a retail quality, this was major. All the time, more better quality, better hand feel, better durability, better washability. So for us, we are working with the brands to get their feedback, to get their requirements, and we see that we are definitely on the right way to I think it's switching all the supply chain, changing all the business model. Instead of having these major quantities coming from the Far East, you have local production, you do reshoring, you do it when the customer is actually paying after he was paying for the product and not beforehand. So it's really changing from what we called supply and demand to demand and supply. First come the demand, only then the supply, and only with digital you can achieve that.
Okay. And then Romu has a question. What is the growth expected by Kornit for the coming years in the DTG market?
We believe that there is going to be, I think it's just, I don't want to brag, but when COVID started, Kornit stock was 50, okay? COVID started, poof, it went to, I think, 27 or 23. Today, Kornit stock is $90, okay? Right. So it's just crazy what happened in the last year. We believe that it's, and this is what, from our, business development and what we are talking with brand, we believe that this is where the world is going to. Now, I'm not saying that it's, it's going to completely, it took time also with other industries. It took time to move from commercial printing from, the offset printing to digital printing, but this is the direction. This is, it took time also from phone, landline phone. I don't have a landline phone at home today, so I have only my iPhone. So just makes sense, digital.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Any other questions from anyone in the room?
And you are always welcome to, contact us, and we will be happy to answer any question.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. So what we'll
thank
do.
You for hosting us.
Okay, no, thank you for your support, and please, everyone who's here, have a look at the materials that Kornit have got in their display area. We will make this presentation available publicly, both in the event and also on our website and social media as well. So so hopefully that will mean more people can see it. So thank you very much, Sharon and Marie.
Thank you.
And, this terminates this session for today. We'll see everybody for part 3 of the digital textile printing course tomorrow morning. And the bad news is you've got me as your presenter. So see you then.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.